KW Commercial is the commercial division of Keller Williams Realty International. Hopefully you've heard of that company. So it's about a little under 2.5-year-old division for Keller Williams. We think it's a great opportunity for us, and we're very happy to be here today. Most of our people are small business people, so we work this angle. So basically what it is when to lease or not to lease is no longer the question. It becomes an action. And I think that's what we want to talk to you about today. There's a lot of people, I think we talk about that, you know, and besides, you know, after a while, the local coffee house either sends you a rent due bill or they kicked you out. And I think that's what we're starting to see with the small businesses, is they're just, you can't exist anymore. I just read in Woodbury, at the public library, they have an issue there where people come, they have like a little coffee house there. They are actually kicking people out of there now because people think that is their office. And then people in the community want to come there and actually meet with a friend or do things, and they can't because there's no tables available. So I think we have a kind of a reaction going on to some of these coffee houses and some of these places. They don't want you there anymore. They love you to come in and drink, but that's not your office. So I think people have to start realizing that. So what we figured is today's really a long day, long week, so we thought we'd play a game. Hopefully everybody's okay with this, right? Come on, play along with us. So the game we're going to play is, are you smarter than a 40-plus year veteran in the industry? And if you can answer no to any of these questions, then you need a tenant rep. And that's mostly what we do, is we represent people who want to lease space. So,
do you have the time and expertise to deal with several different brokers and landlords and analyze different space options while handling all of your day-to-day other job responsibilities?
No.
Then you need a tenant rep.
Do you have the expertise to research real estate marketing, including opportunities that are currently available as well as not becoming available on the market in the future?
No.
You might need a tenant rep.
You might. And then,
Do you know the current market conditions where lease rates and concessions and tenant improvements are being negotiated in your office warehouse facilities?
nope.
You might need a tenant rep. Now, I said that pretty quickly because in reality what I said is mumbo jumbo to most of us. But that's the language that we speak, and we're here for you to interpret.
And that's really what we do best. So what we taught is, you know, there's an evolutionary process that happens here. And we kind of talk about the evolution of a small business, which is our favorite clients to work with, is first you start out your basement, garage, living room, kitchen. That's where you start your business, right? There's a few smiles on people's faces, so you know it's true. Then where you go is, okay, Starbucks, local coffee house, Caribou, whatever. And eventually they kick you out. So then you start looking at other opportunities. My business is too big to be at Starbucks anymore. Now what do I do? So then they go to the evil Craigslist or Filbo. What's a Filbo? For lease by owner.
It's a little yellow sign in the window.
Yep.
It says for lease with a phone number. It just says Rick.
Yeah.
You don't want to call that guy.
And what we're going to talk about is you're really gambling, and that's what we're going to say is and we get into this, you don't know the terminology, you don't know what you're getting into on a lease. So before you start calling Craigslist or calling just based off of a sign, you want to make sure you know what you're getting into. So the next step we've seen people go is they go into the one-person offices. There's some wonderful opportunities. They've had some sponsors here that deal with that. That's really not the kind of deal that we get into. We would take you the next step out of that one-person office into a small office building or a small retail space or a large retail space or some type of office warehouse. So that's kind of the evolution of how businesses seem to work. Nobody starts with 100 employees and opens up overnight. That just doesn't seem to happen anymore, unless you're Facebook. So rule number one, and this is really an important rule, landlord or their representative, they don't care about you. They're not there to represent your interests. They just want your money. They don't care if you get a good deal. That's not what they're there for. First rule, you have to remember that's the most important rule. The other thing you don't realize is a lease could be your second largest financially burdened expense in your life. When you do a personal guarantee on the lease, you understand that you just signed off to fully guaranteeing that lease. So if you're paying $20,000 or $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year and it's a 5-year lease, you just committed $250,000. So most people don't understand that when they sign a lease. So again, they're not going to tell you these things. They'll gloss over it, just, oh, I need a personal guarantee, but they don't explain what the ramifications are. So I think you really have to understand. Let's see what's going to go for me. Oh.
The this way.
No, other
You're
way.
pointing the wrong way.
This way, sir. Screen doesn't
Oh,
change.
yeah, I know. It's not doing it either. Uh-oh. User error. If you want to advance to the next message or...
Try
slide,
again?
that'd be great. Try it again?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Are you in the way?
Not going?
Is that your last? Did you add one?
I've got a few more slides. I also have a backup. I'm kind of anal. So I have backup equipment just in case. I have my own clickers. I have all my own stuff. I didn't bring a projector because I figured they'd have a good one here working. But we can get this rebooted up. But I think people have to understand when you do some of these things, and if we can't get to some of our other slides, we'll try and do that. It's just not clicking for me. But some of the expenses of people, and I'll get into the nuances, it may be a little bit out of sequence. But when you get into some of these things, you don't understand the terminology. You know, you get into these lease, different nuances. What's a gross lease? What's a triple net lease? What's a modified gross? What's a percentage lease? What are we getting into? So I think people have to understand that, you know, you have to understand the terminology, but if you don't want to, because you're a business person. And I don't know if anybody read that great article by Andy Rooney quite a few years ago on Don't Do It Yourselfers. Andy Rooney had the best article. It's like, the best thing you can do is hire a pro and go do what you do best and make your money. And then just make sure you make a little bit more money than that person you hired. And that was Andy Rooney's philosophy, and I think it's a great philosophy. So if you don't know what you're doing, get an expert. So why use a tenant rep? You know, there's a couple big reasons. It levels the playing field for you. Now all of a sudden you have somebody that knows the business, they know the terminology, they can act as your interpreter. And the best part is 95% of the time we're paid by the landlord. So it's not an expense at this point to you. You pay it off over time. Obviously, you're paid for everything, just like a buyer for a house. You're paid for everybody. But at least they do pay our fee, so it's not in part of your planning. That's something you have to worry about. You know, we're your advocates. We're part of your team. Take that next slide. And your team
May include lenders, that we have here today, furniture suppliers that we have here today, movers, low voltage contractors, which includes your phone, data, which is your internet, you know, attorney, your architects. There's a lot of stuff that goes into doing an office, especially if you're going to build it out.
You know, we just had a tenant move in, an outstate tenant, person that we're working with, they want to do 5 stores, they're a beauty supply wholesaler. They're out of Wisconsin. They don't know any contractors here to do carpet, painting, electrical. So we know all these people. And that's when you get into professionals representation, you will have contact with all these ancillary services. So you are hiring somebody that's got lots of contacts for you. So you don't have to start researching that, because setting up your own small business is difficult enough. So using a professional tenant representative will save you time and money. You know, we all know time is money. It's the old adage. Your money can't buy you time, but saving time can make you money. And that's what we hope to do, is save you time. We can do research. We can search properties. Again, we speak the language. This is all we do. That's all we do full time. You know, you can take this one. You know about this.
You know, we care about your success. We know all the current market conditions. Again, we interpret the terms, and it's a heck of a lot easier for someone to come to me and tell me exactly what you're looking for, and I can look through 291 available properties in the downtown central business district, and I can eliminate 280 of them.
Yeah.
And we can go out and look at 10 instead of you saying, oh, it's so overwhelming, there's signs everywhere, there seems like there's space everywhere. But I know what you wanted, and these are the 10 that'll work for you. So let's not waste time. Let's just take one day, look at the 10, and eliminate 5. Now, how much time did we save? Weeks.
And that's really what we're trying to do, is we save time. We call through what properties are available, what's not.